Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to talk about Rengar again. Yes, I'm bringing this up again. I am aware that there are a lot of people with very strong opinions about Rengar, as they should, as they're generally mains of the champion. But today I want to talk a little bit about how I don't feel that Rengar needs a revert per se, as my last video would have you believe. Instead, I think he needs another rework. See, the biggest problem with Rengar is not necessarily that he doesn't feel like or play like an assassin, or that he shouldn't be an assassin. The problem is that his kit is not designed or balanced with him being an assassin in mind. Now, if we actually take a look at what Rengar's kit does, it's a lot more akin to a bruiser's kit than it is to an assassin's kit. Now, to differentiate between the two, assassins are designed to move in and out of fights while they're bursting somebody, and they can abandon a fight very easily. So someone like Zed or Kha'Zix, for example. Zed can go in on somebody, he can burst them, but if he ults the Jinx, and then Jinx runs and her whole team's in that bush, he can teleport back to his shadow and get out. If Kha'Zix uses his leap to go in, then he has his invisibility to get out, or vice versa. Those kinds of things are what differentiate assassins, in that they have the ability to go into a fight, get out of a fight, and then go back in afterwards when their cooldowns have come back up. And that's kind of what sets them apart. Divers, meanwhile, diving fighters specifically, are beefier champions. They don't do as much damage, but the biggest differentiating factor between them and assassins is that they don't have this way out. They only can go in. If Vi presses R, she's committed to that fight, and if she ends up in the middle of the enemy team, she really has no way out other than hoping that nobody blocks her Vault Breaker, because that's her only other mobility spell. And that's the kind of thing to look at with these champions' kits, is that do they have some functional way of escaping? Obviously, divers could possibly, Vi's hoping she can get a Vault Breaker over the wall. Xin Zhao can maybe knock back enough enemies, but they don't have as ready mobility as an assassin does. All this considered, looking at Rengar's kit, it really shares a lot more similarities with a bruiser rather than an assassin. Rengar has the ability to go in from stealth. He uses his ultimate, he jumps onto a target, he tries to kill them. But if it goes wrong, or if Rengar decides he wants to back away, he doesn't really have anything he can do to get out of that fight. Now, this is what the cleanse on his W was intended to solve back during the original Assassin rework. The W cleanse was intended to be Rengar's panic button, his escape button. Rengar goes in, he shanks a guy, then he uses W to cleanse any crowd control effects and run away. Now, obviously, that already was an issue, just because it doesn't really give Rengar additional mobility. He can't go back in after he's wasted that. But it also means that he doesn't give him any additional mobility. He doesn't have the ability to kind of leave a fight and go back in. And the cleanse in general ended up being a problem, so I believe Riot dropped it. Or they at the very least dropped the CC immunity part of Rengar's kit while keeping the cleanse. Either way, it's not enough to differentiate Rengar as an assassin, and that's why his kit is more suited for bruiser builds at the moment, unless Rengar gets ahead. But you could say that about any bruiser. A Vi that gets ahead can afford to build Duskblade and one-shot squishies because she's ahead. But you have to think about, as a whole, what's going on. And even in the LCS, when Rengar was meta, for the most part, he wasn't built for lethality. In fact, for the most part, he was built cleaver into mostly tanky, durable items, because Rengar wasn't really able to just jump in and kill somebody and run away. He'd either jump in and die, or he'd jump in and be forced to flash and cleanse away. So he needed those durable stats in order to have some sort of effect on the game other than his one-shot potential. And that's the current problem with Rengar's kit. So if he's to be balanced as an assassin, which the community very clearly wants, they want an assassin, they don't want Rengar to be a fighter. So if that's the case, Rengar needs another rework. And he needs a rework that more adequately emphasizes his assassin-like abilities, and which needs to actually make sure he has ways into and out of fights. So, and partially, I just wanted to touch on this real quick. The Q revert is a little bit of a disappointment, because if he is going to be an assassin, assassins generally have more telegraph damage, especially after the rework. Fizz has to wait for the mark to pop, LeBlanc has to wait for the mark to pop, Zed has to wait for a mark to pop, whereas Rengar, especially with the Q as an auto attack reset, just kind of goes in and is all targeted, and there's not a whole lot he really needs to worry about. So that's a bit of a disappointment for me. But just talking about, even if that could be kept if he has other ways of moving in and out of fights. So A couple of possibilities could be if he kills an enemy within a few seconds of ulting, he gets like a free targeted leap, or he can leap to a nearby bush. The bush, in fact, would feel a little thematic because he already is known for jumping out of bushes. Maybe he jumps back into the bush when he's done killing somebody. A free targeted leap might give him a little bit too much power, since it potentially could give him like a reset potential like Kha'Zix, but it's an option. It's not the first time an assassin's had a reset a function like that. Possibly if he kills an enemy after ulting, he gains invisibility briefly. Now, and this is invisibility, so not like his current ult works, which is camouflage, which enemies can see him if they're close enough. Invisibility means nothing can see him except towers and true sight. So this would give Rengar the ability to kill an enemy, stealth, and get the heck out of dodge, or at least have a way to avoid being seen. He could also be able possibly to reactivate his R shortly after leaping to an enemy champion to re-stealth. Sort of along the same lines, but doesn't require him to get a kill. So again, gives Rengar the ability to back out of an assassination that he's either botched or that the enemy team has ruined for him. Or possibly replacing his W with a completely different spell that gives him maybe some additional mobility. Possibly like some sort of lunge dash type move, or maybe just kind of the leap from his passive. Maybe you put that on a basic ability. I don't know, I'm spitballing ideas here. But you sort of get the idea, is that Rengar does need... I think he needs a substantial rework in order to make sure that he is more adequately balanced as an assassin and doesn't have his preferred builds be fighter. Now, those are just my 2 cents. I know that a lot of you guys have some very, very strongly held opinions about Rengar, and I would honestly love to hear them. Go ahead down in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys are thinking about anything I've said today. If I'm completely talking out my ass, let me know I'm talking out my ass. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you didn't, leave that dislike. Lets me know what you guys are thinking. If you really enjoy the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video like this every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. And if you're looking for more Grab the Lantern content, you can check out my blog, grabthelantern.tumblr.com. I upload an article just about each and every single day for your enjoyment. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later.